Welcome back. Now, one of the newer parties which will be on the ballot come May 29th celebrated its first year anniversary just 2 weeks ago. Xiluva, which was founded in March 2023 and registered with the Electoral Commission by July last year, emphasizes African identity and cultural values, which involves embracing traditions and respecting the authority of traditional leaders. This approach has sparked a sense of pride and a collective awakening among its supporters as they engage with politics from their African essence. Party leader Bongani Baloyi joins me now to let us in on what the party is all about. Thank you so much for your time, Bongani. Now, of course, the interesting thing is that you went from a big party, one publication, that obviously the DA, and you were thriving there. One publication described your career within the DA as sparkling. Why the decision to leave a big party in which you were thriving to a smaller party, Action SA, and eventually deciding to start your own party? Just talk to us about that journey.
Look, I think it was a very interesting journey. I remain forever grateful and proud about my record when I was in the DA, because I got the benefit of learning governance, which is a rare skill in the body of our politics, and which is something that people really need to advance their lives. So what happened in the Democratic Alliance, as I've explained numerous times, it ceased to be a place where I saw that it could actually capture the hearts and mind of South African and be a party that could really contest for power, as opposed to governing through the ANC, through its particular factions within the ANC, or through the courts of the country. So for me, it was clearly a sense of feeling that there's no longer a hope and future for this party to be able to capture the hearts and mind of South Africans and be able to be a credible alternative.
I mean, you talk about what you would have liked to see in the previous parties that you've been in, but just in the broader political landscape, the current political landscape, what do you think is lacking there that you are working to fill?
Look, I think what is lacking is a party that is not assimilating into the cultures of the Western identity. The biggest problem we face as Africans is that we're constantly assimilating in every space that we find ourselves and in our own land. So when you leave, when you enter politics, either liberalism, Marxism, and all of these other isms, it tells you a fundamental thing that is against who we are as African people, that is individual first and then society. Meanwhile, we say umuntu umuntu ngabantu, meaning that we are a communitarian society, you are an individual, you are society first, a group, and then which makes you into an individual. So for me, those are the internal contradictions that I've been faced with. And as I was researching and trying to understand these things, it got me to the part of my journey which I realized that this is what is missing here. A party for Africans who are saying we are done assimilating into cultures that are foreign to us, because assimilation into cultures that are foreign to you erodes your value system, right, and your ethics. So you start becoming something you see on TV and not what you are, essentially. And that, importantly, starts changing Africans from who they are into a thing that they aspire to be, which really is baseless, and it does not assist the collective agenda of transformation of African people. So I firmly believe that the market is ready for Xiluva, because as a party, which is named after an African indigenous name. Xiluva is a flower, a beautiful flower. So we see ourselves as flowers to this nation. We see ourselves as those who are going to deliver the communal goods that advance the society. But now, before that flower can bloom, we must work the ground. We must do the difficult part. We must persuade and win people's hearts and minds to be able to do so. So we firmly believe that we've found a niche in the market, because there's also millions of young people who are unemployed, who are unemployable, who don't even believe that they share a democratic dividend of this democracy. Now they're saying to us, but there's nothing that looks like me and you. All we are seeing is our grandfathers and grandmothers who keep reinventing themselves, and they're actually not speaking to the biggest part of the population and their needs and the type of contemporary problems we're facing today. So there's a big niche in the market for a party like Xiluva.
It's quite interesting because you talk about being focused on kind of developing this African identity in the politics arena, of course, something that would eventually filter through to the dynamics of the country, but also being youth focused. I mean, I would consider you still a youth.
Yes, I'm still relatively
youth-led, and you also want to focus on the youth, but also, I mean, it's quite interesting because the youth isn't really seen as a democratic that is really kind of as in touch with its cultural and African identity. How are you finding the voters or the voter base actually putting those things together?
Yeah. Look, I think the one thing I share with a number of young people I've been speaking to is a fear for the future. We all are scared of the future because, number one, we've got nothing that inspires hope. There's nothing says from government, I'm going to walk with you to get to the stage. We are going to create sustainable livelihoods and income and also be able to assist you to build families. One of the fundamental values of Xiluva is families, and we are guided by Stats SA, who tells us that 60% of black households are single parent led. And if it's that single parent, it's a woman. If the woman is that not there, the mother, which is the primary parent, then it's the grandmother. Ubaba is only number 3. Now that says to us what type of society are we building. So it's part of the fears that we have to say, but if politics is not changing these things, what is the point of politics? Because it's not speaking to who we are as a people. So we share this concern. Never mind the unemployment, which is a big concern. The part that makes us focus on the youth demographic, in inverted commas, between the ages of 18 and 49 is that it's the biggest voting bloc in the country. So if you and this biggest voting bloc in the country, majority is unemployed and unemployable.
Yeah.
So the future, these are people who must become the working class, who must become rates payers, taxpayers, to build the fiscus of the country and be able to actually work and contribute positively with their time and energy that they have, but they are sitting home. So it's a sense of fear that has made us say, we can't wait for others to come and try and resolve the situation that we are faced with. So let's rather do something to rally behind ourselves and focus squarely on this, because if we don't resolve the issues facing these young people, this voting cohort, we don't resolve the challenges that are faced by our parents. Our parents, even at 60 years old, 70-year-old, our grandparents are still using government pension money to subsidize their children. Now that's a thing that we are faced with on the ground, and we firmly believe if we can resolve the crisis, this emerging, impending crisis between this bloc, we're actually able to resolve the bulk of the challenges for our parents. We're able to reduce crime, reduce unemployment, poverty, and inequality as well, which are the things in the main that drive young people to crime and prostitution and alcohol and all these drugs that are part of society. So when you focus on this group of this voting cohort, you're actually focusing right in the heart of the problems of the country.
All right, well, let's talk about the party, a fairly new party. What have been some of the key hurdles and challenges that you have faced on the journey in terms of, even IEC compliance, funding? And maybe you can fill in some gaps on some areas that we're missing.
Look, I think that the first part is in starting a party, you really need to understand what you are trying to build. And when you start a party and invite people to lead with you, those that you've worked with, you make the assumption that they believe in what you believe. Yeah. Meanwhile, at times, it's not what they believe, is actually what they want, which is proximity and power in the position, but not the work. So that's the first thing that one had learned in a very crude manner, that people actually don't care about ideas. Some people just care about proximity and position. And those types of people are the type of leaders who, when they get to government, they look after themselves and their patronage, as opposed to working for society. The second part is, you have to present something unique, and we presented something unique, which was very clear on the ground. People either love it or they hate it. There's no in between. Yeah. So it's either we appeal to you or we don't, and we really found a good niche and people who really are moving and understanding with what we are doing. The third part was the meeting the IEC requirements. The registering your party is the easiest part, but getting on the national ballot and the provincial ballot with the signatures, it was a difficult journey, but it afforded us the opportunity to build a constituency. So whilst we're meeting this requirement, we are winning over and turning over these people to become members of the party, and some of them activists of the party, which have put us in a very good position as we speak on the ground. And obviously coupled to that process was a deposit for the IEC. Yeah. Because what we needed to pay to the IEC to contest and be on a number of ballots is money. Now, for a party like ours, who is not going to attract a lot of money because of what we believe, and most importantly, the people we're trying to get to, but equally the decision that we are not going to accept monies from families that are prominent in the body of our politics, because if you want to change, you must do something different. So it means not putting yourself in the same space where the families who are sponsoring politics, sustaining their inherent advantage and influence over the economy and government. We don't want to be there. So we took the scenic route, which is the most difficult part.
Because actually, exactly, I wanted to actually ask you about the sourcing of funding, the sources of funding that you are considering.
Look, the biggest funding we got is 50,000. The rest has been the work that I do.
Yeah.
So I must cross-subsidize and give loans to the party and also add my time as well. People often joke on Twitter that I'm the Jomo Sono of the party, which is true. Because when you're building a new organization and you're clear about the vision you want to move towards and what you want to do, you must really be hands-on and build an organization from scratch and be very careful about who you onboard at a sensitive time in the party. But equally, the decision we have made is that we're going to insulate ourselves from the effects or influence of external monies. Because I can tell you now, my sister, no one will give any political party money without wanting to retain or increase their level of influence into government, into their policies, and later into coalition partners that they may conceive of depending on the situation after the elections. So for us, it was to insulate ourselves, take the beating now. In any case, we are products of poverty. We were raised by single parent, single mothers who made 10 rands look like 100 rands. So we come from there.
Yeah.
So for us, going and starting from the ground again does not scare us because it's a familiar territory. And if you want people, you must go where people are.
Thank you so much for your time and really giving us the lowdown on what Xiluva is all about. Really looking forward to seeing your performance there in the 2024 elections. That was the leader of Xiluva, Bongani Baloyi.